I think... Tony began, his voice a mix of awe and apprehension. Jeannie giggled, a touch of nervous energy in her laugh. Only one way to find out. As if on cue, Amir's tiny hand shot out, a miniature blue lightning bolt shooting across the room. It hit a vase, transforming it into a bouquet of giggling sunflowers. Jasmine, not to be outdone, gurgled and pointed. The sunflowers promptly broke into a synchronized dance routine. Tony and Jeannie exchanged a look. This was going to be interesting. The nursery, once a haven of pastel colors and soft toys, now resembled a scene from a whimsical disaster movie. Teddy bears danced on the ceiling, a mobile played Bach at an ear-splitting volume, and the changing mat occasionally levitated with a sleeping Jasmine on it. Jeannie found it hilarious. Tony, not so much. Jeannie, honey, I love that our children are special. But this is getting ridiculous. Tony attempted to wrangle a rogue alphabet block that was spelling out insults on the wall. Jeannie, wiping away tears of laughter, simply pointed at Amir, who was now sporting a miniature top hat and monocle, conducting the room's chaos like a tiny, mischievous maestro. Life with magical twins was a whirlwind, literally. One particularly trying afternoon, Tony found himself battling a tornado of toys. Building blocks whizzed past his head, a rocking horse galloped on its own, and a chorus of stuffed animals sang off-key show tunes. He looked to Jeannie for help, but she was busy trying to teach a levitating Jasmine how to play patty cake. This is crazier than a... Tony struggled for an adequate comparison. A cuckoo clock chimed in, its little wooden bird replaced by a miniature dragon that puffed out a plume of harmless smoke. Crazier than a dragon in a cuckoo clock? The dragon suggested helpfully. Tony sighed. He wouldn't trade this chaos for the world. The chaos wasn't confined to the nursery. One morning, Jeannie decided to bake a cake. A simple enough task, or so she thought. She hadn't factored in Amir and Jasmine. Flour exploded in a white cloud as Amir practiced his wind magic. Eggs shot across the room like guided missiles, courtesy of Jasmine's giggles. And the milk? Let's just say a miniature dairy farm materialized on the kitchen table. Jeannie surveyed the wreckage, covered head to toe in flour, and burst into laughter. Tony walked in, took one look, and joined in. Who needed a normal life anyway? Dr. Bellows, their family physician, was a man of science and logic. So, when Tony called him about a particularly noisy rattle that seemed to be possessed by a hyperactive poltergeist, the good doctor arrived with a healthy dose of skepticism. Tony, my boy, are you sure you're not overtired? New parents often... He stopped mid-sentence as the rattle in question shot out of the nursery and clocked him squarely on the head. What in the... Dr. Bellows sputtered, his eyes wide with disbelief. He watched as the rattle, now glowing an ominous red, began to shake violently. Dr. Bellows, after witnessing firsthand the unique abilities of Amir and Jasmine, had to admit defeat. Science had no explanation for singing sunflowers or self-propelling rattles, yet there was a certain charm to it all. He looked at Tony and Jeannie, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and awe, and chuckled. You know, when my wife and I were expecting, we thought twins would be a handful. We had no idea. The rattle chose that moment to launch itself at the doctor again, this time aiming for his nose. Everyone in the room, even the babies, froze. The doorbell rang, breaking the tension. Jeannie went to answer it, returning a moment later with her parents, her sister, and two very excited nephews in tow. We couldn't wait any longer to meet the twins, Jeannie's mother exclaimed, scooping up Amir in a hug. He giggled and showered her with a cascade of sparkling lights. Wow! Exclaimed one of the nephews, his eyes wide with wonder. Can he do that again? Jeannie smiled. Her family, always up for an adventure, had just walked into the biggest one yet, and she had a feeling they were going to fit right in. The house was filled with laughter, the clatter of dishes, and the occasional magical mishap. But it was the sound of family, of love and acceptance, that truly resonated. Tony watched as his family embraced the chaos, their initial apprehension replaced with curiosity and delight. He knew that life with Amir and Jasmine would never be ordinary, and that was perfectly fine with him. As Jasmine levitated a plate of cookies toward her wide-eyed cousins, Tony wrapped his arm around Jeannie. They had created something extraordinary, a family bound by love and magic. As the evening drew to a close, and the house finally settled into a semblance of peace, Tony and Jeannie stood by the crib, watching their sleeping twins. The air shimmered with residual magic, a promise of adventures yet to come. "Where do you think their powers will take them?" whispered Jeannie, her eyes shining with excitement. Tony smiled, knowing that whatever the future held, it would be anything but boring. "I don't know," he whispered back, "but I can't wait to find out."